That girl was laughing in your face. And though I've no wish to offend you, even so I'm bound to say she had some excuse. How can you possibly be such a goose? Are you so dazed by this man's hocus pocus that all the world save him is out of focus? You've given him clothing, shelter, food, and care. Why must you all say...
Brother, stop right there! You do not know the man of whom you speak.
I grant you that. But my judgment's not so weak that I can't tell by his effect on others.
Oh, when you first meet him, you two will be like brothers. There's been no loftier soul since time began. He's a man who... Oh, an excellent man. To view his precepts is to be reborn, and view this dunghill of the world with scorn. Yes, thanks to him I'm a changed man indeed. Under his tutelage my soul has been freed from earthly loves in every human tie. My mother, children, brother, wife could all die, and I'd not feel a single moment's pain.
Oh, that's a fine sentiment, brother. Most humane.
Oh, but had you seen Tartuffe as I first knew him, your heart like mine would have surrendered to him. He used to come into our church each day and humbly kneel nearby and pray. He'd gather the eyes of everybody there by the deep fervor of his heartfelt prayer. He'd sigh, and he'd weep, and then sometimes with the sound of rapture, he would bend and kiss the ground. Oh, and when I rose to go, he'd offer me holy water at the door. His servant man, no less devout than he, informed me of his master's poverty. I gave him gifts, but in his humbleness he begged me every time to get less. Oh, that is too much, he cried. Too much by twice. I don't deserve it. The hassle would suffice. And when I wouldn't take it back, he'd share half of it with the poor, right then and there. At length, heaven prompted me to take him in, to free our souls and dwell with us. He guides our lives, and to protect my honor, stays by my wife and keeps an eye upon her. He tells me whom she sees and all she does, and seems more jealous than I ever was. Oh, and how austere he is. Why, he can detect a mortal sin where you least suspect, and in the smallest trifles is extremely strict. Why, last week his conscience was severely pricked, because while praying, he had caught a flea, and he killed it, and he felt too wrathfully.
Good God, man! Have you lost your common sense? Or is this all some joke at my expense? How can you stand there and in all sobriety?
Brother, you're a language savors of impiety. Too much free thinking has made your faith unsteady, and as I told you many times already, it will get you into trouble before you're through.
So I've been told before by dupes like you. Being blind, you'd have all others blind as well. The clear-eyed man you call an infidel, and he who sees through humbug and pretense is charged by you with want of reverence. Spare me your warnings, brother. I have no fear of speaking out for you and heaven to hear against affected zeal and pious knavery. There's true and false bravery, and just as those whose courage shines the most in battle are the least inclined to boast, so those whose hearts are truly pure and lowly don't make a flashy show of being holy. There's a vast difference, so it seems to me, between true piety and hypocrisy. How do you fail to see it, may I ask? Is not a face quite different from a mask? Cannot sincerity and cunning art, reality and semblance be told apart? Are scarecrows just like men, and do you hold that a false coin is just as good as gold? Ah, brother, man's a strangely fashioned creature who seldom is content to follow nature, but recklessly pursues his own inclination beyond the narrow bounds of moderation, and often by transgressing reason's laws perverts a lofty aim or noble cause. A passing observation, but it applies.
I see, dear brother, that you are profoundly wise. You harbor all the insight of the age. Your one clear mind, our only sage. The Emperor's oracle, it's Cato too, and all mankind are fools compared to you.
Brother, I don't pretend to be a sage, nor have I all the wisdom of the age. There's just one insight I would dare to claim. I know that true and false are not the same. And just as there is nothing that I more revere than a soul whose faith is steadfast and sincere, nothing that I more cherish and admire than honest zeal and true religious fire, so there is nothing that I find more base than specious piety's dishonest face. Than these bold mountebanks, these histrios, whose impious mummeries and hollow shows exploit our love of heaven and make a jest of all that men think holiest and best. These calculating souls who offer prayers not to their maker, but as public ways, who seek to buy respect and reputation with lifted eyes and sighs and exultation. These charlatans, I say, whose pilgrim souls proceed by way of heaven toward earthly goals, who weep and pray and swindle and extort, who preach the monkish life but haunt the court, who make their zeal the partner of their vice. Such men are vengeful, sly, and cold as ice. And when there's an enemy to defame, they cloak their spite in fair religion's name, their private spleen and malice being made to seem a high and virtuous crusade, until to mankind's reverent applause they crucify their foe in heaven's cause. Such names are all too common, yet for the wise, true piety isn't hard to recognize, and happily these present times provide us with bright examples to instruct and guide us. Consider Aristotle and Periandro. Look at Orgon, Archidamus, Cleante. Their virtue is acknowledged. Who could doubt it? But you won't ever hear them beat the drum about it. They're never ostentatious, never vain, and their religion's moderate and humane. It's not their way to criticize and chide. They think censoriousness a mark of pride, and therefore, letting others preach and rave, they show by deeds how Christians should behave. They think no evil of their fellow man, but judge of him as kindly as they can. They don't intrigue and wangle and conspire. To lead a good life is their one desire. The sinner waits no rancors hated them. It is the sin alone which they condemn. Nor do they try to show a fiercer zeal for heaven's cause than heaven itself could feel. These men I honor. These men I advocate as models for us all to emulate. Oh, your man is not their sort at all, I fear. And my praise of him is quite sincere. I think that you've been dreadfully deluded.
Now then, dear brother, is your speech concluded?
Why, yes.
Oh, your servant, sir!
No, brother, wait. There's one more matter. You agreed of late that young Moliere might have your daughter's hand.
I did.
And set the date, I understand.
Quite so.
You've now postponed it. Is that true?
No doubt.
The match no longer pleases you?
Who knows?
Do you mean to go back on your word?
I won't say that.
Has anything occurred which might entitle you to break your pledge?
Perhaps.
Why must you hem and haw and hedge? The boy asked me to sound you in this affair.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
But what shall I tell Moliere?
Whatever you like.
But what have you decided? What are your plans?
Plans, sir, to be guided by heaven's will.
Come, brother, don't talk rot. You've given Moliere your word. Will you keep it or not?
Good day.
This looks like Paul Moliere's undoing. I'll go and warn him that there's trouble brewing.